Born of Sindar blood, Eol the Dark Elf was a descendant of the Teleri who remained in Middle-earth when the Vanyar and Noldor elves left for the undying lands of Aman across the sea. A gifted blacksmith, he lived for years as a subject of Doriath, developing a hatred for the Noldor elves, accusing them of bringing their war with Morgoth to Beleriand, resulting in terrible battles and a divided landscape, with both the Dark Lord and Noldor occupying lands rightfully belonging to the descendants of the Teleri. His sullen nature and unease with city life caused him to leave Doriath, settling Nan Elmoth deep within the forest, where trees grew so large sunlight did not touch the ground. The darkness reminded him of the years before the rising of the sun, when elves lived beneath the stars in peace. In Nan Elmoth he built his home, living in relative solitude, with only a few servants of similar stealth and secrecy to serve his needs, while he continued to work on his skill as a smith, eventually forging 2 black-bladed swords he named Anglakel and Anguirel from the metal of a fallen meteorite. In order to keep his home and claim the lordship of this small realm, he gave the mighty sword Anglakel to King Thingol, who accepted it as payment. The sword came to have incredible significance in the world, as it was later owned by Turin Turambar, who reforged it into Gurthang, the legendary weapon used to kill Glaurung, the father of dragons. According to the prophecy of Mandos, Gurthang was to be used again during Dagor Dagorath, the war at the end of the world, where Turin will be reborn to fight for the Valar against Morgoth, using his famous sword to slay the Dark Lord in a wondrous final battle. Unlike most elves, Eol hated the sunlight and enjoyed his life in darkness, yet this was not the only way in which he differed from the other elves, as he also befriended the dwarves of Nogrod and Belegost who traveled near his lands. From the dwarves, Eol learned much about crafting and kept apprised of what went on beyond the forest. His ever-improving skills as a smith then allowed him to create a substance known as Galvorn, a black metal hard as steel but supple and malleable, which he fashioned into a suit of armor he wore when he traveled beyond his lands. One day, as Eol walked through the forest, he found a beautiful elf maiden wandering alone. Although it was rare for any from the secret city of Gondolin to venture beyond their borders, Aravel, the White Lady of the Noldor, was granted the opportunity, but became lost when she was separated from her companions. Struck by her beauty, Eol placed an enchantment to ensure she could not find her way out of the forest, leaving her no choice but to seek out his manor and depend on his generosity. When she arrived, he greeted her warmly, and as they came to know each other, became married and lived together beneath the trees. Although she missed the sunlight, she cared for her husband, and they often took long walks together beneath the stars. Eol still hated the Noldor, but loved his wife, granting her freedom to move about as she pleased, so long as she did not attempt to seek out her kin. Aravel bore her husband a son named Maiglin, who grew to be a gifted smith like his father, often accompanying him to the Dwarven kingdoms, where Eol was considered an honored guest. But Maiglin did not inherit his father's love of the darkness, and enjoyed hearing his mother's stories about Gondolin, dreaming of one day seeing her homeland. However, Eol did not approve of his son's desire to leave their realm, and as a result, their relationship grew strained. Desperate to leave the darkened forest, Maiglin took his father's sword, Anguirel, and alongside his mother, left Nan Elmoth, while Eol was visiting the dwarves, leaving word with the servants that they were going to see their kin among the sons of Feanor. Returning from his trip early, Eol was outraged to learn of their departure and chased after them, crossing into foreign lands until eventually apprehended and brought before his old enemy Curufin, one of the sons of Feanor. From Curufin, he learned that his wife and son misled him, and that they merely passed by this realm on their way to Gondolin, from where they would never return. Curufin also warned Eol that he foresaw doom if he followed them, instructing him to return home, lest he die in this foolish endeavor. But the Dark Elf did not heed his warning, and continued chasing after them, following their trail through hidden paths to find the secret city. Yet it was not long before he was apprehended and brought before King Turgon to explain himself. Turgon greeted him warmly, but informed him that because Gondolin's location could not be known, the laws of the realm stated none who entered could ever leave. However, the king invited Eol to live with his wife and son in Gondolin as honored subjects of the realm. Enraged by the arrogance of this so-called king, Eol stated that the Noldor had no right to pass laws or set boundaries, and demanded his family and freedom. The king reminded him that it was the Noldor who protected them all from the aggression of the Dark Lord Morgoth, and that the choice was plain: live in Gondolin or die. Eol, refusing to bow before the elves who stole the lands of his ancestors, proudly chose death for himself and his son, revealing a javelin he concealed to throw at Maiglin who stood nearby. Seeing the projectile aiming for her son, Adavelle threw herself before it, receiving a wound that at first did not seem serious, until they realized the javelin was coated with poison, resulting in her death. For this action, there was no forgiveness, and so Turgon ordered Eol to be thrown off the high cliff of Caragdur, and with his final words, the Dark Elf cursed his traitorous son, condemning him to suffer the same fate as his father. After the death of Eol, Maeglin made a new life for himself in Gondolin, becoming a trusted friend to the king and leading the House of the Mole. However, true happiness eluded him, as he'd grown hopelessly in love with his first cousin, the king's daughter, Idril, despite the fact that Noldor culture did not permit such marriages, and Idril did not share his feelings. Denied her love, he grew bitter, jealous, and resentful, eventually betraying Gondolin to Morgoth, causing the city to fall, leaving Maeglin to fight a final duel with Tuor, Idril's husband, where the son of Eol was defeated and cast off the walls of the city, dying in much the same way as his father.